That's, I think, the value of your space. It means then, if you have your own instance of artificial intelligence, you can then generate content that is historically accurate, but also currently relevant. That's, I think, the power of your space. So I think it's things you need to think about. And when I talk about data, that's always my case. Because of journalists, you have, from your vantage point, you have journalistic ethics, there's a way you curate your information, you fact check. So that doesn't exist with my Gen Z friends. For them, they'll go take the video and upload. There's nothing that goes in between, whether they're checking whether it's true or not. I can be convincing with misinformation. And because it was retweeted, spread, liked, it becomes fact. And that is our problem today. Fact is indistinguishable from truth. I always say it. Before it was the same, right? Or I'm wrong? You're not sure? Before, fact was the truth, and the truth was fact. Today, fact is not necessarily the truth, because the truth is what people believe. So if I watch this video and I believe it, does fact matter? Question I'm throwing, eh? So that's the challenge of this exponential explanation. I think in terms of, there's also a part you mentioned in terms of just our data not being there. I think also part of the work a lot of us are trying to think about is this whole issue of linguistic diversity, right? So it's just not about even our data not being there. It's also about our culture not being there. It's about our vernacular languages not being there. And you're in the media and you're already speaking vernacular. You can really help in that particular space where we can digitize your vernacular content to be able to build our language corpus of vernacular content for AI to be trained on. So I think there's a good role there for the media to actually do that, so that even when we're doing translations, at least we have some good content that has been built by journalists. In terms of, I think, leadership and agility, and you asked me, what are we thinking from where I sit? One, of course, is even how the AI strategy was built. I don't know where you are. But I think it's been about 7 months in consultation. At the moment, it was led not by government, but by a team of multi-stakeholder groups that included civil society who are part of curating the AI strategy. And remember, we went for a strategy, not a legislation. So that also speaks to our thinking, that you should not rush to legislate a technology that you do not understand and evolves very quickly. So even this in itself is a Kenyan innovation. Other countries have gone and done an act. So you had the EU AI Act, I would say they're in problems because AI has changed. So that this agility mindset is very important. Tied to your the question of my colleague who asked about Parliament, is that we have a very interesting parliamentary committee on technology led by Honorable John Kiari, who also is thinking through this in a way that also ensures that we do not stifle innovation. Govern AI, not regulate. Govern AI in a way that then unlocks our development potential. Because the problem is that if you go the hard regulation way, the risks are fine, but the benefits outweigh the risks. Because if today I can have, targeted therapies for a human being, I can have, curated learning content for a student who has different learning capabilities than the one in a group of schools, the benefits outweigh the cons if we create an environment where there's safe and security around artificial intelligence. So that has been really the posture around how we identify these things. We also have undertaken a route around principles. So a month ago, before in January, you could have seen it that Honorable Minister Kabogo and a couple of us were sitting around a conversation around principles. Because sometimes maybe that's a better way to approach these issues, so that as a sector, then you can use the principles to develop your own governance mechanisms. And the principles are universal, right? It's about safety, it's about security because of cyber, but also it's about inclusivity, as you've seen inequalities are rising. It's about sustainability, that using technology should not be creating more challenges and problems around the environment. It's about trust. And really it's about building public trust. Because you've seen, as I said, if truth, right, and facts are things now we have problems with, it has serious implications on trust in society. So trust by itself right now has to be a principle within which we apply on how we develop our very specific governance mechanisms. And you see, I'm really not touching regulation. I'm really trying to avoid that word because of the historical understanding of it. I would, in this space, and that's been our posture, is thinking about governance. And when I say governance in this context, it's about multi-stakeholder collaboration. We don't build AI, or not unless somebody in the room builds it and I don't know. Right? It's being built by companies. They understand where they are going in their development trajectory of building AI. So how will you govern them without knowing what they're doing? So it has to be multi-stakeholder collaboration where you're having a conversation with tech companies. And this is why Kenya and my team has been part of the international network of safety institutes of artificial intelligence. Because then we have a global collaboration, but also we test the models. We test them for their safety. We test them for their accuracy. We test them for their bias. Especially when, if you go to ChatGPT now and ask it to translate something in Kiswahili, you need somebody to check whether that translation is accurate and somebody didn't put something in there because it's generative. So I think I'll leave it at that. But as I said, we are open to a conversation. The president inaugurated a lab that I run in my office, and that lab is multi-stakeholder. We build a lot of use cases. Happy to bring you in and collaborate on those that you think we can work together on, whether it's to counter misinformation, disinformation, whether it's to build capacity and capability. When you ask me where are you, we actually had a training last year. We brought TikTok last week to train media, especially the digital media folks.